because he's a fucking YouTube guy. The same reason Schoolboy and before Bowen even had any clout, Bowen was in there and Coach Ray and Auden. Let's be honest, Auden's fucking getting his name around, not from accolade, but it's because it's Devin's son. And listen, call it what it is. There's a silver spoon there, and
Sure.
hey, power to you. But like that kid's getting opportunities up the wazoo and got a booming YouTube channel because of who his dad is.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any
I
of
mean,
that.
Leonidas is also like what, like 270, like stone cold, like strongman power lifter as well.
I don't disagree with any of that, but I still think what I said is true that you can do both up to a certain level and be great at both.
Yeah, yeah.
It is both.
I think you can have a really good level at both, but when you want to achieve like greatness, it's going to be very, there is going to be that line in the sand.
Yeah. Yeah, and great. I mean, we'll cross the greatness bridge when we get to it. I haven't even done a fucking professional super match yet. So,
Right.
I'm not even really thinking about that. I just want to get good.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think you can do both. Traditionally, like historically, what I did was basically bodybuilder training when I was in my healthy years, and I arm wrestled. And I agree. You can get pretty far with it, and maybe even for overall health, it has its benefits to be more full range and body aware and body strong. I think too many statics and too much joint pressure and stuff like that's not good. And I think bodybuilding training definitely has its place. It's actually what I've moved back to after these years off. So I actually there is some merit to it. I think there's too much emphasis on statics and angles and stuff like that that you can get really strong. And when you work those angles in table time, you need to give those joints and connective tissue time to heal anyways. So
Mhm.
good healthy blood flow and stretching and full range actually has its merit.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that because it feels like with some people that focus too much on statics, as soon as they get out of that static position that they train, it's like they're on their own in the middle of a battlefield. And it's like if you could just
Yeah,
be strong in a full range, you'd have more options available to you if you start to get into a danger zone.
yeah, I agree.
Also,
How
I
do you
think
see the match going, Rob?
What?
How do you see the match going between
Oh,
James and
you know
Auden?
what, man? Okay, so to be honest, I haven't seen James pull. And but apparently I did catch a bit of the podcast. He's a bodybuilder, he's a fitness guy. He does gymnastics, which if you're doing gymnastics for a long time, you're gonna have a very good level of overall body strength. You're not just gonna have a good looking physique. And so he's got a good level of strength. The problem is, and my one problem is I think right now Devin and crew are making very calculated moves for Auden,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing moves that I think they think bode really well and are just in the winnable reach to really elevate Auden. And that's not saying that Auden's not training and doing good, but I think he's on a very accelerated path with very careful moves. It's kind of like catching Leonidas or Larry early. It bodes really well for a 19-year-old kid or 20 or however old he is now to beat a guy that might have a social media following and some presence and looks really impressive. And if he's not super versed in the arm wrestling game, he is going against a kid who is not a workout phenom or a fitness phenom. He is an arm wrestler since he's been a little kid. Um, I think you're going to find yourself with all your strength, at the very least, in some very uncomfortable, weird positions. Now, whether you could power through that, curl through that, chest pack deck through it, I think you're gonna be put in some weird positions, and you got to be wary of the fact that you were chosen, and don't think there was anything other than that. Some matchmaker in heaven didn't put this match together. Um, Devin and his crew and watching videos calculated this, and you were chosen for this match. So
I
just
chose Auden.
you did, but it had to be agreed upon.
It did. Yeah.
There's been a lot of people asking for Auden, and I personally know a few of them, and uh, you were the one they said yes to. And I think because of maybe your social media and your physicality,
Definitely my social media for sure. And
what you have,
I haven't
so do
denied
you have a
that for
big
a second.
following?
Sorry.
For do you have a big following?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a win-win because even if you smash him, how old are you?
24.
All right, so you're going to be perceived as the bigger, older guy. There's going to be a narrative always, and then Auden's going to be perceived as Devin's kid, the prodigy or whatever, however they want to spin it. Uh, it's a tough match. It's a tough match because there's probably no winning for you, even if you smash him totally, because it's going to be you smashed a kid that's just getting his feet wet, and if he beats you, it's onward and upward. It's a really tough match, and I think it's very calculated.
Yeah,
Personally,
definitely.
personally,
It
I
definitely
mean,
is.
the only thing you can do is win it, and then let them talk it because results speak. But
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I get what you're saying, and I've thought about that too, but I've also seen the comments of people saying this is just another fucking stupid Instagram bodybuilder who's gonna get his ass kicked by Auden because he doesn't know how to arm wrestle. So I actually think in maybe among my following might think it's a little unfair for Auden because they see me as the bigger, older guy. But I think for the greater arm wrestling community, they see it as the other way around because they don't really know who I am and they see me as just some bodybuilder who's maybe dabbled in arm wrestling a tiny bit, who's obviously gonna get fucking smoked by Auden. So I think even if I don't win, even if I just turn it into a battle where it's a very close fight, I think it will surprise the greater arm wrestling community personally.
I think it's
yeah,
a
I'm on that outlier. I'm on that outlier mindset because I know that you can just be a very strong individual. And if you have your faculties, if you've got a good, strong wrist and hand, which if you're a gymnast, I'm assuming you do, and you're capable, your strength can trump your technique. And you can put a good arm wrestler in some funky spots and beat them. And I know I did it. I came into this sport and was beating top pros right out of the gates because I had just great strength from the get-go. And you could upset him and beat him. I'm not one of the ones that goes, if you're not a lifelong arm wrestler, you can't beat this kid. I'm believing you're stronger than him. And I believe he's more polished in the craft than you. So it's going to be tricky and there's going to be a lot of games. I believe that it's not that you can't beat him. I just believe it's a very calculated move, and they're setting you as a stepping stone. Just know that you have
Oh
been
yeah.
chosen as the stepping stone for Auden. So you got a choice to cut him off on that one lane traffic, and you advance, and he moves back because that's what we're on here is one lane traffic, and
Yeah, look,
it's a great
I
opportunity for you, really.
they asked me if how much money I want, and I said I don't want money. Just fly me out, just cover my tickets. I'm cool with it because I love arm wrestling and it's my hobby. I just like doing it. So I'm just pumped to do the match. And yeah, I could be a stepping stone, but if Auden actually flash pins me 5-0 or 6-0, whatever it is gonna be, I think his level is higher than a lot of people would like to admit because I know that I'm coming in really good. And yes, I might not have as much experience as him, but I personally feel like I have a decently good grasp of arm wrestling naturally. And it's not like I don't practice. And I am very strong. So if Auden does completely crush me, then I think people need to start taking him a little more seriously than just, oh, he's Devin's fucking kid, and that's the only reason he gets matches.
Right. So
Um,
it's not a you sucking thing. It could totally be just that Auden's level is really he's not just a kid. He's legit.
yes,
So let
Yeah.
especially
me ask you this, James.
uh,
Where do you consider your level at right now? Are you past that amateur level? Are you mid-level pro? Like, where would you put yourself at? Or do you even know?
dude, I mean, I've done one competition and I just flop pressed everybody. It's not a great gauge of my level, but I will say I came into that 198 class and I weighed around 185. Um, and I beat everyone in amateurs. I placed third in pros, and I was, probably like 30-40% weaker than I am now on the arm wrestling specific strengths.
Give me an
So
idea. How many people were in each class in that amateur class that you won, and how many were in that pro class you came in third?
I'd have to say I didn't film every single match, I don't think. I filmed a lot of them though. Maybe like 8, 9 people, 10 people in the pros, and maybe a little more than that in the amateurs. But this is just going purely off memory. It was a huge competition, and a ton of people competed
And
and
this
one
was at the TAL last year.
Yes. Yeah. And it was like a big one. All the people at the practice I went to were saying, hey, dude, you have like a pretty good, grasp on the table. You should do this just for experience and see how you do. And, I was injured at the time with my leg. So I was like, yeah, sure, fuck it. So
I'm just sizing you up, bro, because I know the TAL very well. I did, like 20, 30 events over there with Travis that we threw with the TAL. So I know all the guys over there, and I kind of know like what the classes are like in the 198 and all. So I'm kind of trying to
I
size you
think the
up.
best way to size me up is to just pull me.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. But that wouldn't even really give us anything because I haven't pulled Auden or know anybody that's, I don't know Auden's level either, bro. I'm at the same
Yeah.
point as you, man. Like, before the Nanya match, I was also up there, talking to go against Auden next and wasn't really sure what level. I was kind of surprised at his performance against the Whisper. I
Yeah.
thought that was going to be a lot closer than it was. Were you surprised at all? And have you
Yeah.
with the Whisper?
Yeah. I was surprised. I haven't pulled a Whisperer. I've tried to, but I think just scheduling hasn't worked out. But yeah, I was surprised. I was a little sad because I really like Arm Wrestling Whisperer, but it was well deserved. And I thought at first, oh, he's just fucking him over in the setup. But then in the later rounds, he let him have a lot and he was still able to win. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty surprising. And what's a little scary is he's going to come in significantly better than that. So I got a lot of ground to
and,
cover.
and bigger. The kid, he's getting big quick.
Yeah.
I
But
agree.
so we had a conversation. I don't think you were here for it, Rob, but me and him had a conversation in DMs and I kind of tried to like dial him back a little bit on that. And I think he heeded my advice because I said, look, man, by all means, get as fucking fat as you want for our match. But after our match, I think you should tone it back a little bit and do more of a lean bulk because, especially as a natural, you're eating all these calories. Your body cannot physically put on muscle that quickly, and you're going to force yourself into a higher weight class competing against guys who have been slowly adding this muscle for years and years and years. You're going to be 250 pounds with a high body fat, and they're going to be 250 pounds pretty lean. So maybe just take it a little slower so your body actually has time to like adjust rather than just fucking, full steam ahead.
Yeah, bulk. Just because you weigh something doesn't mean it's quality weight.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you there. He did have a good deal of weight on the Whisperer, but you gotta remember, you all you gotta do is watch one or two of his videos, and you see Devin in the background. He's got proper tutelage right from the get go. They have an arm wrestling table in their living room. You're probably not gonna out endure him. You're probably not gonna rock him emotionally. To beat him, it's like beating John Brzenk back in the day. They're not gonna be a lot of fuck ups there. You're just gonna have to just be better, just
Yeah.
be
RVJ, I
stronger.
got to ask you this, bro, because most of the time I would say that weight really wouldn't matter that much. But when you have the levers and the frame of Auden, who I look at as like a puppy growing into his frame, the dude's got long levers. He's got big hands. I think that extra weight would help out a lot, man, just because of the levers. Now, if you say somebody like James, who's 5'9", and him just bulking up just to bulk up to put on that extra weight, I don't think that is going to translate over to the table. But I think with that 6'2" levers and just those big mitts he's got, you don't think that the extra weight will translate over to the table?
Look, Paul, I just real quick, I wasn't saying don't gain weight. I was just saying eating 6,000 calorie breakfasts, and I did the math. It was like 340 grams of fat.
Yeah, that doesn't
I
make
mean,
sense. Yeah,
yeah, it's cool for an Instagram video, and it is great to hype up the match. But I just said, look, you can still bulk, you can still gain weight. Just do it not just for arm wrestling, but for your health too. Um, but even for arm wrestling as well, like just take it a little slower and do it a little cleaner, and you can kind of grow into that, like you said, puppy, like a puppy growing into his skin, rather than you know trying to become a fucking ox overnight.
Trying
Let
to
me
turn
pop
to
off on that a
Levon
little bit,
overnight,
Paul,
right?
though. Paul, let me pop off on that for a hot minute because everybody wants what they don't have. It seems to be humanity, right? Girls with blonde hair dye it dark. Girls with curly hair straighten it. Everybody wants to be with something they don't have. Girls with little titties get fake titties. Fucking, it's always somebody wants something that they don't have. But long levers are great if you can put enough power to put them into use and utilize that leverage. But there's many positions on a table that favor a short arm. And a big hand is only good if they can actually put containment strength to it. I've known a lot of guys with big hands that had tragically weak hands. So their hand was basically the same as having a very small hand. And then, there are guys like Rustam Babayev or Zoloev who didn't have big hands, but they made them so strong, or Engin Terzi so strong that it's like their hand was like a giant.
Engen
So,
had
like
small
a
hands.
short lever is absolutely when it coils in. If you coil in, the short lever now has all the advantage. Think about why you don't see guys with ultra long arms winning bench press competitions and curl competitions. If you can curl that
You
in,
gotta get
the
that,
short lever is the king.
but you gotta get that short lever inside, bro. And when you got a
Well,
long
that's part
lever
of the
like
game, but
that,
it's not just. But if you had your hand and wrist strong enough and you could curl that in, people say, "Oh, the frame, the frame." Yes, if they can use, but that's just like boxing. If
but
someone's got a long
do
arm and
you
they can
think
stick
that
a
the
jab
best
and keep someone at range,
but
then
do
it
we
would be
think
the
the best
rangiest
arm
guy
wrestler on the
wins.
planet, son, it does not have a developed hand and strong hand and all that? Is that
Yeah,
what
but
we're
you know what? There are some guys who don't have crazy strong hands that just now know how to snap in time to go and chop into somebody and sink a hook as well. A short lever has an advantage in many spots, including even in the straps. You could have no hand and wrist, and look at somebody like Todd Hutchings. He gets that strap tied around the middle of his forearm, and he just starts bearing on you. And let's not forget, Todd Hutchings beat Matt Mask very handily because he had that strap tied around the middle of his forearm, and he just bared on it, and now he's pulling down on Matt Mask's very long forearm. And Matt
Mhm.
Mask did get hand control. He did get the hit, and it just came to now we're going to power. And when you got only 10 inches of forearm pulling on a strap as opposed to 16 inches, then it becomes a physics game. So short arms do have a place in the sport.
Yeah,
let me
and Paul,
James,
even
we just seen in the chat that Austin Jennings is in there and he said that you train with Jason Montgomery and Ryan Carter. How do you
yeah.
do against Ryan Carter?
Well, yeah, last time I pulled Ryan was probably last summer. So I was just recovering from my injury, and Ryan's really good. He was much better than me. I think he's number one in Texas in the 220s open. I could be wrong about that. He's at least he's number two, but I think he's number one.
I could agree with that. Ryan is definitely top of the league. And
Yeah, and
Israel,
he's
if you can, just
also
send Austin over the link, man. Austin wanted to pop on real quick, and he'd be a good addition if you could.
Cool. Yep.
and Ryan's also 6'6", so he's 3 inches taller even than Auden.
Yeah, he's a giant, bro. Really,
Yeah.
really experienced puller. Really, really.
Yeah, when I was able to get him inside, there was a couple times I got a pin on him, and obviously every time he let me get my shoulder over, I was able to pin him. But that doesn't happen in a real match, so it's like I don't really see that as like I ever pinned him. I didn't really ever pin him. He just
How's your hook? Because I know you're a presser, but how's your inside game?
It's good. I wouldn't really say I have any big holes in my game. There's places where I'm stronger. Like for example, I don't train my press at all. It just it's just wasted recovery to me because the only thing is going to be getting to that position. That's what I'm training. Um, and even being able to pin him without having to get into a press. But I'm not training my press because I know at the level it's at, if I'm able to get that position, there's absolutely nothing he can do. He's not as strong as Ryan Bowen. And when I was able to get in that position at 30 pounds lighter against Ryan Bowen, I was able to pin him. So, yeah.
RVJ, what's your prediction? Or what's your tips first to James to get the win over
Yes,
Odin
please.
with that height?
Please.
Yeah, I would say do the professional slip that you see 99% of guys do, where they load up with like a posting type top roll to minimize the damage and the finger climbing and the holding on and all the things you're going to get, the unnecessary wear and tear. load up like you're gonna like high posting top roll and roll away, and he'll roll away when he feels threatened, and you guys end up in the straps, and he'll be happy to go there because he's Devin's son, and that's what they do. They train all day in the straps.
Yeah.
But then if you've got the straps put on and you can lay into it with that Jerry Caderet flop tight press, and you can throw your shoulder in there and you're a big strong boy, his brachialis is not going to be conditioned to take that kind of pressure, and it will be, even if he's a great top roller. Very few people have been able to crack the code on how to get through a strong, body strong flop wrist presser. And I think that that is your lane. And if he gets frustrated with it and tries to hook you, then God bless you. But I think that that's going to be your easiest way. And that could be an easy way for victory if you're confident in throwing your shoulder at it like that.
Yeah, I am, but I'm aware of Auden's speed. So I need to be ready. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket, and I need to be ready for that. And
just hog the pad on him, man. Almost get like, play the game that they're going to play with you, right? Be ugly and ridiculous in the setup. Triangulate your shoulder and elbow so it's really forward and in there. Really make it where if they come sideways on you, they're jamming into you, or like triangulation in your shoulder. Beat at the point where they almost got to foul you to move you. I played Mr. Nice Guy in the setup too long, and it cost me too much. When I started being a dickhead in the setup, things started getting way easier for me. And just really triangulate. And if they let it go, hey man, the refs fired it. That's their job. If they think it's good enough, don't be afraid to make a victim out of somebody, because in a heartbeat, they'll make a victim out of you.
Yeah, no, that's definitely good advice. I'm also just going to call out any fuckery that I feel. I'm just going to call it out. I'm not going to.
And don't fight for it, because they're going to try to get you pumped and annoyed and aggravated. Yeah. I mean, you can see the rhythm. It's no guessing game on what goes on there. Going to go up and move over here and expect you to move to them and start gripping weird. Just ref script that shit right from the get. Just ref script it. Don't play the game and get cracking on that.
How do I force a ref script?
30
you
seconds.
Ask for it. Just ask for it.
Isn't it 30 seconds to get your
grip? Just stand there like a dickhead and go, I'm not going to grip. I'm not going to play this fucking game. Let's ref script it. And then be early. And don't be afraid to push your shoulder in there and bully shit around. Don't be afraid to be a guy that's a little bit false starty. Use all their tactics on them. Play their game 100%. Better than them.
And James, and what about, learn from Travis, bro. Travis always says, man, the two things that you could always control is to go to the straps and ref grip. You know, because every single match you could bring that to that. So every practice, that's where you want to be practicing, bro. That's where your majority should be, and it should be ready goes. You know, everybody does the slow pulling and everything. No, man, 90% that setup and those ready goes, that's the key, bro. And especially against
and if you're a fast twitch guy, like if you've done gymnastics, usually I wouldn't think this much about bodybuilders, even though they got high muscularity. But gymnastics, you know, I have a high respect for, and that's usually fast twitch, and you can usually get that shit moving pretty quick to do explosive movements. So if you kind of sit there lined up, hogging that pad a little bit, and then on go, you just kind of bully it. All you got to do is put somebody a little bit outside their shoulder to really change the dynamics of that match.
Mm-hmm. Who's the referee that day? Because you definitely want to find that out as well. Do you know?
He's an American, isn't he? Is this at King of the Table?
It's at East versus West Supermatch series in Florida. Chance Shore, bro.
Well, you're going out of Florida?
Yeah, that's where it's going down, bro.
That's the one in June.
Yep.
Oh, that's gonna be a hot match, man. I'm gonna be there.
Oh, cool. Well, you live right next to where I grew up. I grew up in Amesbury.
Oh, bro, I'm in Newburyport.
Yeah. So
no doubt.
My parents still live there, and I try to visit them a lot because they're getting older. So next time.
So what you should do is, before you go to this match, you should come over and get a training session.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Because then we can at least get some gauges and see where you're at, because I'm training for this shit. And the reality is, I think down there you're going to get Tim Talmadge said he's going to ref. Tim Talmadge is he just refed at Arm Gods. He's everywhere now. I feel like he's very fair. He's an American, so you're not going to get juiced by no star fucking from Canada or any other countries. Even when you go to Europe, you get a little bit of star fucking. It's true.
I'm gonna wear a big American flag on my fucking chest just to let them know.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's an uphill battle, but there's definitely lanes. And if you got good body power and good resiliency, and I'm again being a gymnast, I imagine you must have good connective tissue and joint strength. There are a lot of things you do. Did you do rings? Was rings an event for you?
Yeah, I was an all-around gymnast.
So
Me
what,
too.
like floor exercise, pummel horse? Did you do all that
I did
shit?
all six, yeah.
Oh, so yeah, dude, you've got good joint strength. You're good to go. Like, we'll just get you on a table and get you working with some of that shit. You can come either to me directly or right in Manchester. We have a group of about a varying like level that goes from very beginner all the way up to me of guys at all weight classes. That's like 40 guys. And we'll let them know like, hey, like we're not here for ego like dick measure, and let's give them something. That way they don't tweak nothing or anything weird. We'll feel the press. We'll feel where you're at. We'll work something. Because I mean, listen, it's nothing against Devin and his kid. Like I've known those kids since they were little, and I love Devin, and power to them. But we all need a little bit of help from our friends, and they're gonna try to take the world over. We got to make it more difficult for them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not about silver spoons. Let's get some. Let's earn this rise.
Yeah. All right.
James, who you
Great,
who
dude.
you do you have a coach? Do you have a cornerman? Do you have anybody you're working with?
Nah, dude. I tried to get a coach, but I don't know. No one really wanted to write me a program, so I'm just fucking doing my own thing.
Really?
Hey,
Yeah.
have you been going to the Wednesday practices at Tucker's?
I'm
The one
not
in-
I'm in LA now, bro.
Oh, you're in LA?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Got
You've
you.
been asking the wrong people, man. There's 10 people that I can name that would be willing to give you a workout regimen, bro.
Yeah, so you got Ryan Bowen, you got Lachlan Adair, you got Hermes Gasparini, you got I think even maybe Bob Brown might take up somebody
A
like that.
lot of those guys, overcomplicate shit too much. If you're a bodybuilder, there's literally like 4 exercises you could do that will take your game to the next level. Like literally like 3 or 4, and then be body strong, and then practice properly, and you're good.
Yo, send me
Like,
that shit, RVJ. Send me
hey,
that,
you know what? It's
please.
true. And I could tell you a story about a proof of concept. I could tell you a story about people I've worked with that went from being not so good to dominating their weight class in the open division in a short amount of time, because it's easy to dial. It's like powerlifting. When you have like a deadlift, a bench, and a fucking uh power clean or whatever the fuck you guys do, squat, it's easy to just dial in on those. And that's not saying those are easy moves, but it's easy to dial in on them and watch the numbers go like this, even though it takes a lot of your strength from your whole body. But you see these guys with humongous backs, humongous jacked fucking backs and shoulders, and they're not out there doing shoulder raises and fucking shrugs and shit like that. They get all that they need from a deadlift. They get these humongous developed legs, and they get all that they need from a deadlift and a squat. So it's like sometimes we overthink it with arm wrestling. We're like, we need to do pronation, and then high pronation, and then rise cup, and then cup, but then cup low, and suck a dick cup, man. It's too much. Find something that works for how you pull, and
Rob,
just make it mastery.
Rob.
Master that, because then what you do is you get so fucking strong at that, you can impose your will on everybody else.
Look,
And you only need like 3 moves.
I got 3 things here: pronation, rise, and finger containment. And
Yeah, so I think the finger containment is similar with cup, but pronation's cute. You can get by with just cup, because then you can turn people how you want and press them, or a little bit of the rolling. I would add in like good strong, like something with a hammer curl. Make your curl strong and people can't open your arm.
Yo,
Make your curl
RVJ for the
retarded.
cup. RVJ for the cup. Is it the wrist max, or is it better using the metal one that's flat?
Wrist wrench, right?
What do you think is the wrist
I
max?
think it's going to be okay. So I switch it up depending on what you feel, because you will get used to handles, and I like to focus on different parts of my hand. So like sometimes I want to feel some on the upper.
I want to get this shelf where it's the shelf doesn't open. Where do I?
So listen, I got all these really nice handles,
get
and I go back to some gangster ass bullshit handle that's similar to that I made out of wood. That's a nice handle.
Well, I got to tell you, RVJ, you're right with that, bro, because when I first started and I was getting coached by Engin Terzi, I was so proud to show him my 2,000 handles, that I had every handle made from every, you know what he said to me right away? Paul, throw those all out. Those are no good. Get a piece of wood, drill a hole through it, and you're good.
That's all I have. And that's what I did. I got a hole, and just the way it feels in my hand and the wood, and the angle and the length, for me, it's perfect. And I've had it for a long time and I can feel the numbers. But at the end of the day, if it's something that translates to how you pull, now if you're pulling, if you're not a containment puller, if you're gonna be a guy who's gonna roll away, you're wasting a lot of time with all this shit because you're no longer this guy. Go study Jason Vale. He never had none of this. He just made his back pressure so strong that once people were tied to him, he could just pull in the straps. So don't waste your energies doing dog shit that don't equate to how you pull. Make your wrist like just dial it down to like really basic moves. Biceps, you can never do enough of, in my opinion, because you're always being opened up some way, left, right, center, leveraged from your bicep. That's how Todd
RVJ,
Hutchins lost his match against DeVete. He got dragged out on his bicep.
I have a quick question for Rob. So
just
I
hold
know.
on 1 second. 1 second. I just
Okay,
want to ask
okay.
real quick to RVJ. He's 5'9" and he likes to press and go inside. Who's a good person for him to start looking into and kind of like learning from? Is there somebody that's got a similar style and a similar structure?
Well, he's all the way out there. He's all the way out there in California.
But I'm not even saying somebody in person. I'm just saying, somewhere he could start watching their matches and all and learn from their,
Well, I mean, a
similar
guy who
style.
gets inside good, I don't see him flop pressing, but a guy who gets inside really good at that height would be like Jeff Hale, um,
Okay.
Dustin Hyatt. You're talking, I don't know how tall Dustin Hyatt is, but I think he's similar weight class, maybe a little bit lighter, really strong coming across type press. Um, there's definitely guys, and you start figuring out, look at the Kazakhs, really, because the Kazakhs aren't extremely muscular driven. They learn to use their frame and come across with explosivity. So if you've ever been a fan of boxing, you'll see a guy like Marvin Hagler, and he hits like a fucking brick shithouse, and that makes sense because he looks like a brick shithouse. But then you see somebody like Tommy Hearns, who was wiry and thin, who hit like equally as hard, but he was like, he would use his frame and his length to really snap a shot out there. And with the velocity, he would ice motherfuckers. So the Kazakhs are not really like very big guys, but they're like frame and the way they train their connective tissue to come across. I would look at them as a way of learning to initiate because they're not very big people. They're not very, some of them might have some height, but mostly they're like Asians. So they're not humongous dudes. And if you learn the efficiency and then you mix it with a muscularity, so now you have a little more defense, a little more gritty drive if you do get stumped out of your lane, I think that's a great place to start. And there's plenty of videos to look at the Kazakh training.
We got a super chat from Her and I for $1.99. He says, "Let's pull again. Dustin pulls, love the work." So you probably pulled with Dustin. He's out of Texas.
Oh
Really
yeah,
strong
yeah.
198
No,
guy.
that guy really helped me out a lot. Dustin, if you're watching, well, obviously you are. Thank you for all the advice. And yeah, that's an example of someone who fucking cooked me. He got second on left arm in my class, but then in the after pulls, we were more even. He was still stronger, but we couldn't really pin each other in the after pulls. So that's an example of like
That says a lot right there, bro. Dustin pulls is he's up there. So that's a high level pro.
Well, I don't want to throw any. This was left arm. I'm sure right arm he'd fucking kill me, but
I
yeah.
know his right arm is a lot better than his left. That is true. But Dustin, if you're listening, where do you think he's at right now? You have an idea of what level?
Dustin, you got to remember, I'm 30 pounds heavier now, and I've been arm wrestling specific training. I've been doing it for like 2 months when we pulled, and now I've been doing it for a year and 6 months. But real quick to Rob, you were talking about just like you can always have more bicep. And this is something I've been doing a little bit at the gym, is like kind of like a preacher curl, like hammer, and then just bring it back up for some reps. What do you think about this for like an arm wrestling?
Yeah, I think it's
no
good.
Side pressure there. That's just straight.
No, that's good if you use it. So a lot of guys will do that, and then they want to go sideways or vice versa. They'll train side pressure and only go backwards. If you're using that angle to secure position in the straps or to keep somebody out, of course it's good. Any type, that's very similar to what you saw Devin doing 15 years ago when he did his hook training, when he kind of laid down on a bench, any kind of static. I do a range of bicep moves depending on how I feel. Some of it I'm pulling on rubber bands and springs that I'm static, A lot of them I'll do like full range over a preacher, half range as I get tired, even some of them just straight locking when I'm really fatigued. So yeah, what you're doing right there is great as long as you use that muscle. So if you're going to be a guy who wants to be super dating, getting a hook right here, well, then that kind of like neutral grip is kind of at a miss. But if you're going to use that neutral grip to kind of achieve that slip or to use the strap and pull them out of their game, then I say game on. It's perfect.
Okay.
And that part of that's going to be a learning curve of how what you go to and how you use that against other people. But any kind of hammer curl variation or curl variation, you're going to get thumbs up from me.
I really like the way Arsen Liliev back in his prime would pull, because he kind of had shorter arms and smaller hands, if I'm recalling correctly, but he would still top roll guys that were
Yeah,
bigger
he
than
had
him.
incredible back pressure and wrist.
Yeah.
Just he would make this shelf here, and a lot of times it was in the straps, but if people would hang on to him and try to power through him, it just his wrist and his back was a lot for the majority. And I mean, again, I imagine if you're a rings guy, you understand wrist flexion and wrist strength, and if you can actually just make that shelf strong and pull somebody, and let me tell you something, with a long arm, if you can get on the back of someone's hand like Auden, and you can pull that towards you, and now you've kind of got him tucked under you on where you're sitting kind of like on his forearm and he's stretched out, that long arm is now a humongous liability, especially when you can get coiled and throw your shoulder on it. Humongous liability to be the longer arm guy, palm up. So think about using that. I would be grabbing handles if I was you, like your wrist max, and act like I was ready going, pulling a handle towards me like this.
Yeah,
Pull it towards you.
like I said, I'm doing this on the furthest out setting, and I just kind of do a deadlift with a cupped wrist and finger containment, and I just do a
Yeah.
heavy single.
But
I
I
do
would
a
I
heavy
would I
single
would
every day.
I would put it on a cable across from you, and your arm at the angle is if you were setting up in a ref's grip with a neutral wrist. Look at your wrist, look at your hand as if what a ref will give you,
Yeah.
and then pull the weight towards you like as if you were pulling a hand towards you. Because if you start with a cupped wrist, this is where you're comfortable, just like doing those statics we talked about. You start here, you're comfortable here, and they say go, you're getting comfortable with snapping that towards you.
Yes.
So
And I should say as well, sorry to be a fucking iPad kid right now and keep pulling up my phone, but I just want to show you one of the handles that I really like. It's shaped like a hand. It's one of the
yeah.
and that really puts a ton of pressure on my fingers. And I go all the way until my wrist is flat and maybe even a little
Okay.
bit kicked back. And then I just work this part. I don't even cut my wrist all the way in, because my theory, and tell me what you think, is that if I can win this, I'm probably going to win this too anyways. So
100%. Yeah.
I kind of just
Yeah, you
work
don't need
that.
to go crazy. In my opinion, if you actually take from the start to that first half inch, the rest of it kind of falls into line already.
Yeah.
It already
Yeah.
kind of falls with it. It's if you already dominated that first half inch that everyone fights for, the rest of it kind of flows naturally.
Mhm.
RVJ, how can I get that faster? That initiate that hook like that? Is it just explosion training? Like when I'm doing that lift, just
Well, there's two ways to
floating
get
to it?
faster. You can either get it stronger and it looks fast because you're so dominating, or you can set it up and speed train it, which I don't do, but I do see value in it. Where you could just like set up on your phone, right? Set up on your phone. Go. I thought of this the other day. Like, how do you do a timer for like ready go? You could just go on your phone and record ready go. Give it a 10-minute
You have to
span.
play it like
Ready
that.
go. A 10-second span. Ready go. Ready go.
Let me just tell you one thing, RVJ.
Video of that. Ready,
The reason
go.
why I brought that up
Yeah.
is when I used to train bodybuilding, and I used to train at Bev's Francis.
I'm
I
gonna pee real quick.
training under this guy, Dr. Camp, Michael Camp. And he asked me right away, he goes, how much can you bench? And I was proud to say 405. I could put up a couple times. And he's like, all right. He's like, I'm gonna try a different training with you. Let's get on the bench. We're gonna put a lot less weight on there, and we're gonna do explosion training. And he was like, I want you to explode with that. So,
Mm-hmm.
on 225, and I was having problems, bro. And I'm like thinking, like, at 405, I could put up, but the way he wanted me to do 225, I'd shoot like two of them, and then I was like pretty much burnt out. Then he put it a lot less, and then he just started having me explosion training. Within like 4 or 5 months, bro, it was like insane. I was a whole nother person. And like
Mm-hmm.
it was just crazy. And I felt
Mm.
more stronger. So that's what I've been trying to figure out. How do I make that happen for the arm wrestling exercises? How can I develop that explosion power that I witnessed there with the bench press? And the explosion power I'm looking for now is I want to learn to really get in the hook, because like you were saying, man, I got a shorter lever. That's what I want to do, is get in the hook. So how can I develop that explosion power?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to get in the hook. You can get in the hook through either muscling through it, like you can either grab someone by the back of the hand and shut them down on what they're doing and force them in a hook, or you can set up in a way that kind of like you can jot forward and reach around them. You can set up high like a post and chop into them with your wrist. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. But I mean, to build that explosion neurologically, I would think is just a matter of I'll go back to boxing training when they make you go into a gym and throw a whole day just of jabs, and they make you build that like mind muscle. Just grab a handle, and it could be at a much lighter weight, and just feel it, like feel yourself almost go lax, like to heal my shoulder and my pecs up from my injuries to get back to where I feel like I have really good strong side pressure starting to build again. I did exactly what you're doing. I would lay a bench down on my chest and just let it almost like rest there, and then I would try to throw the bar off me like I was throwing it to the ceiling. And it was a lightweight, maybe 100 pounds, but I'm trying to toss it to the ceiling. And then I would bring it back down and but without the flex, without the elasticity, without the everything that you bring when you can start banging reps. I let it all go relaxed, almost like when you're in a gym machine and you start backwards instead of starting from the top. Because when you start from the top, your muscles like load. And as you bring them down, they like stretch, but they're like loaded. So you kind of like crank it out. But when you start at the back, there's none of that preload. So like tossing it is like you got to actually like really be able to like contract your muscles really hard and fast. And
Like
I would
throwing a
take
punch.
the bar and like toss it, and that felt better for me than going heavy. It's like doing a really set of explosive push-ups.
Yeah.
That felt better for me in a lot of ways, and it felt like it built more power. People can
Strength.
arc strength, but through my triceps, shoulders, and chest, I felt more power doing push-ups and even like dip variations than I did with like bench press where you could load up the weight. And I would say just get that real weird like connection. And sometimes when you grab a handle, it's not just your hand and wrist. Feel it through like your back, your bicep, like as if you were pulling and rowing people to you, and just really like just get used to like feeling all the things that come into play to snap it at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And of course, everything's trial and error with how you use it and how it applies to you. But for me, that's what I do. I'm starting to think more dynamic and explosive, and I try to feel it all and then just fire with it. And if I fire everything, including moving at my hips and everything, I pay attention to what's left behind. Did my arm open? Did I come outside my shoulder? Did my pec separate? Did I turn and everything's left? Or am I firing and everything's coming with me? Then you dial up the weight and you do it again till something gets left behind, and then you figure out what you got to fix.
So if
If
something's
that's how
left
you pull.
behind, that's the weak point, and you got to go strengthen.
Yeah, so like if I'm grabbing a handle and I'm in a way where I'm like it's my back, my chest, my shoulder, my arm, my forearm, everything's involved, including my fingers, and I grab it like a start and I want to go, and in my mind I fire that go and I go and I go for it, but then my wrist is solid and my arm's solid, but I fall out here outside my shoulder. Something in this linkage right here is probably a little bit weaker, right? So I'll dial it back and start fucking doing shit like this and cranking like this, and then I keep firing it. But you can build that real like almost like throwing a left hook or like a real like snappy uppercut, like you can get that real poppy type connection just neurologically from doing seriously like 100 reps a day of it doesn't have to be crazy heavy. Pick a weight that gets you a pump and just get that like mind muscle, like how you feel like it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's like kind of like muscle memory. Remember Israel, when we were training that last practice with Santino, when we did those ready goes at the end, and we made sure to relax and we weren't loading at all, and how much faster we were doing it. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what it
No,
is.
you can absolutely load. You can absolutely load because if you get a guy who's better than no load and you're not loaded, you could be caught in a shit's fucking ville. So I still load, but like it's not like loaded like dragging them. I'm just like coiled tight. So if somebody hits me, I'm kind of like ready to react.
Yeah.
But it's like you can still have like it's being able to like feel the connection in your body. It's being able to like feel yourself like fired off.
It's like
And if
you have some tension set, but you're not all the way.
but you're not in that amateur game of like where you're trying to drag people 2 inches off their pad and show dominance from the start. You're just getting set with what you feel you need to have set. So when they fire go, like you're protected and ready for action. And believe me,
who I
these are
feel
learning curves, man. These are learning curves for me.
yeah,
I
who I
feel way
feel
quicker if I
mastered
don't
that
load.
was Engin Terzi. When you watch him, you know how he loads that extreme back pressure, and then when he fires off, it's like sideways with that back. I feel like that's like the master right there, because with that much load at the beginning, you wouldn't think he would have that explosive power that he does, but he's mastered that, and I guess
Well,
that's
it,
what
it
you were
could be an
saying.
angle shift too, right? It could be an angle shift. Like he could be loading this way, and as people are loading back, the nature of feeling somebody back, people by nature will meet the pressure. So if you start pulling back on somebody, they pull back on you,
There you go.
and then you fire sideways on them. They got no sideways protection
Yes.
because they're all backwards trying to negate that. You know,
That's
when
how
I
I
want
press
to when I
people,
want to load a heavy
the
shoulder
back
roll,
pressure.
what's
And then
that?
no, that's how I press people. I load back pressure and then I jump into a press and it fucks them up.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. When I want to shoulder roll somebody, I'll act like I'm posting on them, and they want to protect that somehow, and then I just come
Yep.
forward and jam on
Come
them,
forward.
and
Yeah, they get
and there's
screwed.
no protection for it.
Normally I can get my cup that way because I'm loading
Hmm.
back. When I shove forward, I can cup them in.
Right? Because their nature is they want to protect their wrist.
They want
So
to
as
protect
soon
their
as you go slack, they cup you for you.
yes. And they lose their pronator because they're just worried about their wrist, not their pronation.
Right? There's a
I
lot
want
of
to
tricky,
introduce
slippery
everybody. This
ways.
is Austin Jennings, guys. He's out of Texas. He trained with James a couple of times. He's also a gymnast, so he has that gymnast background, and he's a strict curler. So he's got a lot to contribute to the conversation we're having right now. Welcome, Austin. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, doing good.
So
Nice.
tell us about James, man, because we know that you've seen him in practice. You know a lot of his training partners, and also, do you have an idea of what level he's at?
I mean, I don't know about now. That was so long ago. How much you weigh now, James? 230?
No, I weigh 210. When you were
210?
when
You're like
when
what,
you were
185?
pulling me, I was anywhere from 185 to after my surgery and I started recovering, I made my way back up to like 195.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you pulled that tournament, I mean, you got gassed in amateurs and then you still did good in pros. I feel like if you would have just pulled pros, you would have done even way better in pros.
I appreciate that, but I don't think so because the guys who beat me were just more experienced. They had a better start, they were faster, and I didn't have this skill set to defend that. So it wasn't even a strength gap. It was more like I just couldn't even get my shoulder, you
Yeah,
know?
you couldn't get your shoulder in.
Yeah.
Who'd you
So
lose? You lost to Dustin and who else?
sorry.
Who were the two guys that you lost to?
Uh uh
It was Dustin and
Caleb Bricks.
Caleb Bricks and Dustin.
Dustin
Okay.
Post, those two are
Okay,
beat.
yeah, yeah. Okay, you would have still gotten 30 if you just pulled pros then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think both of them would beat. I think both of them would beat Auden too. That's my prediction with that.
Yeah, because Caleb had to cut down to 198. So he was walking around probably 210. It cut down for or maybe 205. And now last time I saw him at the LA Fit Expo, and he's like, yeah, fuck that class. I'm pulling in the like 220s now or something because he just couldn't make the weight cut anymore.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
220s.
Yeah, I think
Austin, your prediction: Auden versus him. What's the
If
score?
Auden takes your hand, he's going to keep you outside of your shoulder,
yeah.
unless if you win the go.
Hmm.
He will keep you out of your shoulder for sure. He knows how.
And don't be afraid. Listen, if there's one thing I've learned from watching Auden in a very short amount of time, he's adopted all his father's tactics. Devin
Yes.
took 30 years to become the Devin we see today. Once upon a time, he was just kind of chill, quiet, did his thing, and was happy to pull and pin people or get pinned. Now he kind of like baits his opponents and does the don't quit, don't let me pin you.
Yep.
Don't fry yourself out if you find yourself in a bad spot. Don't be afraid to let it go and come back and reset because you can absolutely destroy yourself round one.
Yeah, I would grab Auden like this. Don't give him
Yeah.
nothing. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try to load with him or anything at first because he's going to try to gas you out.
No, ref's grip. If he wants to go to straps, maybe even volunteer to do that because that doesn't hurt you. And
Yep.
because they love the straps. They love the straps and ref's grip takes some of the bullshit out of it. Are you practicing with somebody regularly?
Yeah, I go to Mendy's gym practice like every week.
And you guys arm wrestle?
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
That's a
wait,
strong
Mendy's
crew.
Gym. That's that crew with Scott
That's a
Wayne and
Scott
strong crew.
Mendelson.
yeah, but they got who else is on that team?
You guys have the Armenians on that
That's
team or
Brez and
what?
all
Both
them.
Armenians.
That's
Brez and them,
Vazgen
right?
and Brez.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got those guys?
Oh
Uh,
shit, bro. Oh
You're
my, that's
practicing
to
with
go.
those
game
guys, right,
changer
James? Yeah.
there, bro.
Yeah, those guys are really good. All the Armenian guys.
So,
Yeah,
so you
that's the
have
top
actually
team.
like good dudes to train with.
Yeah, dude. Vazgen is fucking. He was like world champ in his
He's
weight
on with
class.
Vrez,
I know
dude.
about
Vrez,
Vazgen.
Vazgen. Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just
Avid
take your
Egyon.
table training. I would say take your table training very seriously. I mean, of course, you do your bodybuilding, do what you love, but to win this match, make sure you are very comfortable on a table and very comfortable in a grind. Grind with somebody for like a minute and take a 30-second rest and grind for another minute and take a 30. Always make your practice harder than you make your tournaments because they're going to give you like a minute rest in these things. Make
Yeah.
it so when somebody's gassed out and breathing heavy and their tongue's hanging out of their face, you don't want to be that guy. At
Dude,
least, if anything, be the better athlete or better condition. You
I
can
don't know.
control that.
I don't know if you were here, but I was saying whenever I do practice, I'm usually giving people the high hand and I'm giving myself the buckle and I'm just trying to I'm really pulling as much as I can, and towards the end of towards the end of the practice when I'm about to head out, I'll usually do like king of the table until I'm tired. I don't just practice ready goes. I definitely am practicing not getting gassed out.
Yeah, grind.
Yes, sir.
I
You know
almost never
the rule
practice
set
ready
that you're
goes.
pulling under.
What?
Do you know the rule set that you're pulling under, James? Is
No,
it
and I need
running
to
fouls?
figure that out.
It would be WAF, I would imagine,
I
right? They do
assume it's
WAF.
East versus West rules. Right?